Welcome to Intuition and Orgasms, a daring new podcast with Jen Hamilton and Greg Riley, where we dive deep into the intertwined worlds of spirituality, relationships, and self-discovery. We're here to shed light on the often untouched topics that everybody needs to wake up to. Expect raw, unfiltered conversations as we tackle subjects like emotional intelligence, trauma healing, conscious relationships, and yes, better orgasms. We combine our unique experiences and skills, Greg with his intuitive insights and therapeutic expertise, and Jen with her background in clinical hypnotherapy, coaching, tantra, and esoteric psychology. Together, we aim to help you upskill your life, understand your true self, and build meaningful connections. Each episode will explore the tools and practices that foster personal growth and transformation. From unpacking childhood imprints and societal conditioning to discussing the impact of spirituality and energy on relationships, we leave no stone unturned. Plus, we'll share our personal stories of overcoming adversity, leaning into our shadows, and finding profound joy and connection on the other side. Join us on this journey to know yourself, communicate better, and ultimately, fuck better.
G'day everybody, welcome to another episode of Intuition and Orgasms. I think it's episode 3, Jen, isn't it?
It is episode 3, we're back.
We've had such good feedback. You've got a follower now on your thing. You had someone reach out to you about how good it was. I've had people reach out to me going, Greg, this is great stuff. Keep talking about it. Really good positive feedback from people who are listening to some sort of open conversation we're having, isn't it?
Yes, I'm loving it. I'm loving hearing the feedback. It's really interesting as well when I share some of the stories and stuff on my personal page, the unfollows that come from that as well. So I'm just like, okay, off you fuck.
There you go. That one's a bit too raw. That one's a bit too straight through.
You said what?
We're going to offend some more. We're going to offend some more people today, aren't we?
I'm here for it because we're diving into the topic of what is it that men want. So we spoke in the last episode about what is it that women want and need, and now let's turn the tables a bit because we need to cover all bases here. And so, Greg, let's throw obviously straight to you as a man. As an awakened man, as a conscious man, as a man that's probably been asleep and then gone through the awakening process and now understands what it's like to tap into the intuition, to have the amazing connection and the sex and the orgasms that come from all of that. Take us on a journey about where it is that you've come from in this process and what is it that you know that you can speak on behalf of men that what men need.
It's funny because and we've been talking about this for a little bit. We've been alluding to some of this stuff, which is, there needs to be more than just a redefining of what do men need. There's a redefinition of who men are today.
Oh, yes.
Because the old school, and it's the old way of the archetype of the male was the king, the warrior, the primal man, the performance at all costs, the protector, provider, the very old archetype of stuff, right? That has worked to a certain point, but then that's led men to be disconnected from their emotions, and that's caused its own issue in itself, which is why for quite often the men's suicide rates are very high because they don't tap into their intuition and their emotions, and you've had all this social media or media stuff talk about if a man's in touch with his emotions, if he's he's intuitive, he's sensitive, he's emotionally aware, that he's some kind of weak man, he's a simp, he's a beta guy. These guys really aren't the provider or the protector kind of stuff. So there's been this, for years and years and years, this archetype of not the Andrew Tate kind of stuff, and that whole thing's a complex kind of thing in that place. It's this man who's very, masculine, driven, provider, money, performance, cars, cigars, all that kind of, the women, you see some guys where they got their shirts off and they've got 20 women around them and that's that's a definition of a man. And that's what guys have fallen into that's what a man is. But we've evolved and we're going through this evolution about who we are as men is not what it was 5 years ago. There's this dynamic man coming out, and this dynamic man has those very strong positive male archetypes like provide, safety, security, the performance side of things, which is, not just money at all costs or working at all costs, but there's, pride performance about going to the gym, being fit, being healthy. But then there's this evolution into the emotional intelligence, the emotional resilience. It's the awareness. It's the looking deep within yourself. It's the spirituality. It's the intuition that we're bringing into this new version of man. So if we're evolving into this man, then you've got this, what men want from women is completely different to what we've originally had. And women have shifted as well too, Jet. So the old way we've sort of solved this kind of thing about that's dying. And this is why there's so many, I've been in coaching groups, and I go into a lot of different groups just for research perspective. And I've got one, which is it's a men's dating group kind of stuff, or men's relationship group. And it's purely based on sort of the man is the king and the wife is submissive. And you've got all these kind of, guys sort of jumping onto this thing about, I'm the king of the house, and my wife is to be submissive to my thing, and that's the roles that's sort of been playing out. But that doesn't work anymore. That kind of relationship may have worked 20, 30 years ago, and it may be good for the man, but you've got all these women now who will not, that kind of relationship of submission doesn't work anymore. And if I said to my wife, I said, let's do this thing about I'm in charge and you submit, I'm going to get a black eye, literally a black eye, right? Because, so it's a very interesting question, because what do men want? It's multifaceted now. It's not just as simple as we want, to stay at home mum or sort of thing. Or when women work, they've got their own financial independence, they've got their own security. But ideally, men want, it's not equality we're after. We're after this dynamic relationship. We want a female who's in touch with their femininity. We want, females who are good parents, good mothers. We want them to support us, to respect us, to challenge us. We want women to be, again, kind and gentle. We don't tend to want the alpha females, though. And this is where it gets a bit, strange, is this boss babe stuff, is that men, and this is different, right? It's when you get a bit older, in your 30s and 40s, men really want the caregiver. They want the femininity to come out. They want they don't necessarily want the go-getting women who want to actually climb the corporate ladder and achieve this kind of stuff. They really want to have this well-rounded woman that can support, kind of things, and then understand dynamics of masculine and feminine and all that kind of stuff, right? So there's this dynamic shift that's changing that it's happening on both ends of the scale.
It sounds like that desire to be nurtured and to be, valued, seen, heard, loved, just really nourished, like really just valued in a way that, like, just that acknowledgement and that honoring of, because, and I've seen this in, in my own, relationships over the time. It's not like, it has shifted. Like you said, we have shifted in the last few years. A lot of men have started going through this awakening process, which we're doing on a collective level, whether we like it or not. There is a shift happening within humanity. People are waking up. People are realizing that old versions aren't able to exist in this new version that we're creating. I've also noticed as well, there's a lot of women going, can we go back to the old school way of dating? Can we go back to being courted? Can we go back to where there are that masculine and feminine dynamics within the household? Because it worked, and there's this desire within the feminine to be taken care of by the masculine. But at the same time, she's there to nurture, provide, within the space of the household, raise the children, look after, the inside of the house while the man goes and does the external as well. So I've seen also a big shift of women desiring to come back to those more traditional ways of being.
Yeah, because we got out of whack where you've got and you understand the polarity difference between masculine and feminine. You've got, there's a lot of these things these days where you've got the male at home because there's a high-powered female in this corporate CEO role who's stepping into that masculine role. And then you've got the male, the husband at home being a stay-at-home dad. But then the balance is all out of whack because from a female's perspective, she's not finding him attractive anymore. Like there's no sexual attraction there because he's a stay-at-home dad. So he's using very feminine qualities. And so this is where, it's all out of whack at the moment, going around is because the amount of affairs happening in the world these days is actually females are actually having more affairs than men these days because they're in the workforce, they're out doing this stuff, and they're finding the fact that, hypergamy, or it's that thing was that you date up and above, right? You want to have this, this male who's got more education, more safety, more security than I do, and it's a confusing time for a lot of different people because, like you said there, you want the man to lead, you want this old school dating, but men are afraid to actually go and approach women these days because it's like, what happens if I get called for sexual harassment, right? Can I go and actually talk to someone these days without being, call them, look at the stuff in the gym. You go and you're at the gym and you're doing this. Don't look at the girl. Don't look at the girl because she might be filming me, right?
Exactly.
And it's a minefield, right? So.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well. Like I get asked all the time, like, don't you get approached by men? Like it does not happen. I mean, I don't go out, I don't go to bars and clubs anywhere near as often. It's a very sort of occasional thing that I do, but I have not been approached by a man who I don't know to come and have a conversation with me in I don't know how long. It's been like probably years. It just doesn't happen. And so there's this assumption based on the way I look generally that, oh, you must have men, I have men in my DMs. I have married men and older annoying men in my DMs. That in the pursuit more so than what people are in the real world. And I think because we've talked about this tipping scale for so long, like women are filming in the gym and then they're putting men down because they looked a certain way and they think, oh, you're harassing me, you're doing this. And the way women have been treating men all of this time as well, like it doesn't surprise me that men are like, fucking, I'm out of here. Like I'm not approaching women because I just don't know if I'm going to get attacked for something, accused of something, ridiculed for it. Like I don't blame men for going, I'm checking out of this scene and I'm just not going to do it. And this is why we see so many people going through dating apps now, because they can hide behind the screen. But then we've built this disposable mentality and this swipe mentality that it's like, well, I'll have all of these women or men on the go for conversations. The first date, it means nothing. It's just a vibe check. It's just an energy check. And then we have to tick this, but we can't contact each other for this period of time. And I'm so glad I'm out of that scene.
Take a holiday and go and talk to a girl. And that's the thing. It's if you lost that, that art of conversation. Like men have lost the art of conversation. That's the thing is you've lost the art. Like I said before, courting. Like I'm bringing up my son in very much traditional way of you open the doors, right? You pay. Like even this day, like the arguments about who pays on the first date. Like seriously, like the guy pays on the date. The guy pays. Right? It just happens. But now there's all these arguments about, well,
yep, who pays? Who should get there? Like, do you go to pay and then you wait for them to say, no, I've got this, and then you say, are you sure? And it's this ick. It's ick, Greg. It's ick. I can't do the ick. I really want to hear from you. Tell us how you met your wife, because I think it's really important to talk about our own personal stories and how long ago was it and how did you guys meet?
So my wife, basically this was after Shane, after I'd sort of, separated from my first wife. she came in for a reading, and she basically wanted to get into a different role and different job, right? And I said, look, I do more than just psychic readings. I do a lot of coaching. If you want to actually, go down the path of getting the confidence to be able to walk into your resume, you're walking in your role, what you have to actually articulate, how to have the confidence to be able to walk into this, it was a very big leap in the role that she was doing. So I said, look, I'm happy to do some coaching. He said, that'd be great. So basically what happened is I started coaching her to get this new role. And then, from there, it was like, okay, yeah, she's got the role. But by that stage, we got to really know each other, because I got to understand, how she ticked, what was important to her, her values, why she was doing things, understand, her history, her family, and all that kind of stuff. And I got to know her first at that level. And what really made her tick. And there were some really strong values in who she was as a person. There was, I understood why she had the self-confidence issues to take the role on. And you really get to understand somebody at a really deeper level. So I sort of broke all the rules in what you should and shouldn't do, is because, she was a client in that space. But then I stopped coaching her. So that was when, from that point, once that role was over, then she went and got that job, and from there, then we sort of just remained friends from that space. And then it sort of just evolved from there. We started catching up, and there was actually something really deep and connected between the two of us, based on some really strong attributes of who we are, and our history and our past, and what we both wanted out of life as well too. So because I basically came from leaving my other marriage because my ex-wife was a singer, and I wanted to have a family and settle down, and she wanted to go and chase a music dream, which is absolutely fair enough. It was like, I'm not going to stop you from chasing that dream, but I want to have a family. And you sort of, there's logistics around that kind of stuff. So we sort of met at the sort of the right time. And I think that there was definitely, I don't know the words, destiny in it, kind of thing. But it was definitely, once it sort of started to, all right, there's something here, it was very easy, very, very easy, because we knew each other first.
Mm-hmm.
There was no this, jumping in the bed and then kind of get to know someone. It was like this, I've, known her for a number of months before that, and really got to understand her at a deeper level, and she got to understand me, because in that coaching space, there's a dynamic between the two of you about, you're sharing part of you in that space. So that's how we sort of got together, and 3 kids later, we are. It doesn't mean we don't have issues. Like, every relationship has issues. Like, raising children these days is hard. Running a business is hard. Being a stay-at-home mum is hard. It's difficult. So we don't have. We're not immune to what goes on in life and stuff like that. It's just normal. But we have, a very, very strong commitment to both of us, that we've got a very, deep spiritual connection together, that we support each other. And we've both been through some pretty tough times. But that sort of makes it. That's the thing, is that's what makes the strength of a relationship, is that those points in time when you need to dig deep, that you have that aspect to support each other. So that's sort of roundabout short of way of how we got together.
Beautiful. And so obviously you knew each other first. Did you go through the dating process, or because you knew each other and already had that foundation, did you end up just kind of in the relationship?
We definitely went through the dating phase, because there was again, there's complexities around the fact that technically still married to my ex-wife at that stage, right? Because once you leave, you got to wait 12 months before you can have a divorce and all that kind of stuff. So there's, and then coming off that technically I was still a married man, all that kind of thing. So you still got that. You still have to sort of date, and I have this sort of saying, and I don't know where I got it from. Somebody else told me. It might have been the Gottman stuff I'm doing it that I've done. But you've got to continually date your wife. You've got to continually date your partner. And this is what happens with long-term relationships. You get into this rut. You get in this place of just life becomes normal. So basically, we continue to try and date each other. One of the best books I ever read was Seduction by Robert Greene, and that in itself is a very, very powerful book. It's not about manipulation, but it's just art of seduction, and that's part of it, is to continually put yourself out in that place. As you've got to continually date, you got to continually inspire, you got to continually just bring this sort of seduction into your relationships. We continually do that, we continually challenge each other. We set some really big goals sometimes. We've got some things we're trying to achieve now, which if it comes off is a massive lifestyle change for all of us. But we're both on the same path of that, and we both, journey through our failures. Like, I've had some massive failures, and, we both support each other through that. So, it is, so at the start, definitely with the dating aspect of it. Because again, you're going through this thing as do I want to be. I was in a stage where I come from a place, I'm on the relationship man. I've never really gone out and played the field.
Yes.
I've come from long-term relationship. So, I had definite sort of needs and wanted that I wasn't going to go through and actually, do that. Was whatever I went into next was pretty much a long-term relationship. So you sort of have to date in that space if you're going down that path in that way. So definitely, did that, but it was very easy to slip into a conscious relationship after that.
And I'm so curious to hear. So when you finished up working together, continued to see each other, what were some of the things that you noticed within your wife and within yourself that was like, yes, like those boxes essentially that get ticked along the way, where you're like, I'm feeling this, like I want to spend my life with this person?
Yeah, the self-awareness part, and like going down the path, like the support of me going through my own spiritual journeys, and especially, as you know, when you start taking the plant medicine side of things, a lot of shit comes up, right? Is that exploration in that space where you do have this, they, like I said, they see you, they actually support you. It's this understanding that you're both on this individual journey, and the relationship itself is there to help us become more conscious as a being. And that's sort of what was being allowed in this space, is that we weren't demanding of each other about, you must do this, you must do that, you've got to make me feel loved. It's like, I've got to sort of bring this to the table, I've got to show up as this person. It was a very expansive kind of place where I could be myself and feel myself, rather than trying to be someone that society says I must be. That I get to be able to just be who I am, which is a combination of a whole lot of fucked up shit and some good stuff. And then to really nurture that spiritual aspect, because in this place, and I don't know if you've experienced this, that with what we do, people kind of see what we do as this thing. It's a very big quality of what we have, like to be highly intuitive and to be in this space. People kind of see it for the wrong reason. They get attached to this because it can bring so much to a relationship. But Vanessa never saw it like that. It was just Greg. This is what Greg does, right? She wasn't using it to go, oh, look, Greg's a psychic, he's intuitive. Look at how, he's on TV. Look how popular he is. She couldn't give a shit about that. She couldn't give a crap, right?
Yeah.
So, it's really refreshing to see that someone actually saw beyond that and into, who I was, rather than just hey, Greg does this because it's, it's attractive, right? Because plenty of people go after the identity side of things, like they have the car, the house, the status, the Instagram following, they're a footballer or they're an actress or whatever. It's like they get this allure of, they fall in love with the identity of the person, which is an external projection. And when they get behind the scenes, they realize that, oh shit, this person's not. That's just that's a version of them that's so small about who they really are. But that's what they fall in love with. They don't really fall in love with the person. And this is what she sort of, she saw through all that, and saw the real person behind it all.
I love that. I love it. And what I'm really hearing through all of that is that you just got to be yourself and you got to be honored for being yourself,
Mm,
because so often, like, and I've been in, a similar space before. People see what I do on the outside. People see how I present on Instagram. People see how I present on podcasts. People see how on stages, all sorts of different things. And that's all well and
mm,
good, but there's so much more to me as well. And definitely being a woman, I absolutely get valued on my looks a lot of the times as well. And so
mm.
when someone comes along and says, "That's nice, and I want to get to know you," or I want to, I just simply want to hear your voice. I don't even want to see photos of you. I want to hear your voice. What do you sound like? How do you present yourself? What am I hearing in between what you're saying? What does your heart look like? And so when someone can truly see you for who you are, you're like, oh, that feeling of being seen is the most beautiful feeling that you can experience, for someone to truly see you and
And
value
this
who
is
you
what you're
are.
talking about. Yeah, and this is what you're talking about before. What do men want? We don't want to be seen as a wallet anymore. We don't want to be seen as this person which is purely based on performance. We don't want to be seen like that, because that's giving most men a mental health issue.
Mhm.
Because then, our identity is so tied to our job or our business or our career or how much money or how much we can bring to. And I get it. There's people out there who do work like that, a very purely transactional relationship. It's a take relationship. But men these days don't, like, we want, yes, that's important to us. Don't get me wrong, right? Performance, looking good, health, well-being, safety, protection, they're all still very strong, very, very strong in this new version of man. I don't understand, because people kind of get this wrong, right? They kind of say, Greg, well, you're focusing more on the emotional side and the spiritual side. No, don't get me wrong. The new version of man, that shit is still highly important.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
it's a passion, it's a driven, it comes from inside, right? It's not this external validation, right? It's what motivates me. Why am I getting up every single day? It's a deep desire, passion to do that. But inside of that, we've got this very strong emotional connection about our self-awareness, our consciousness, our spirituality. It goes back to the Simon Sinek stuff, why we exist, what motivates me every day, how am I emotionally connected to myself and my family and my partner? How am I showing up for them, right? And this is why I said before, the Andrew Tate stuff in itself, it's a bit polarizing. I get it, because why a lot of guys are drawn to that, because he has all that stuff. Like, his values in that space are very, very strong. Yeah, there's some things there that are a bit way off,
Mm.
but this is why so many guys are drawn to that kind of version, is because he's got the performance side of things, but he's also trying to talk about spirituality. He's talking about this, this purpose, this driven, having this emotional awareness. He's he's so you've got this, but he's sort of just too far one way as well too. So you've got all these men who are confused right now. You've got these men who are going, well, all these men's coaches are saying, get my shirt off, go that performance way, do some ice baths and breath work, which is not spirituality. That's a health and lifestyle thing, right? I get it. Like, I'm not against ice baths. I'm not against breath work. I do that stuff, but it's a thing you do, like yoga or meditation. Yeah, I get it. It's not going to fix anything. It's the self-awareness. It's the emotional intelligence. It's the emotional resilience. It's the intuition. Like, a guy who's got intuition, like we've said before, is so fucking hot. It's not funny. Like, I can't tell you how many women I know that say a man who's got intuition and self-awareness and emotional intelligence, like, they're tearing their fucking clothes off. Like, it's so hot.
Yeah.
And so what we're trying to say is that the new man has it's like a 5-dimensional man. That's why I call it. That's why it's my program is 5 dimensions. It's this thing about, you've got your physical, you've got your mental, you've got your social, you got your financial, and you got your spiritual, all in this one human being that's very much self-aware of the whole lot. And what underpins it all is the spiritual aspect of who you really are. What drives you every single day. And that's just not money or performance. So what men want, they want the equivalent.
Yeah.
They want the woman who's emotionally aware. They want the woman who's self-aware. They want the woman who's intuitive. They want the woman who appreciates. like you said before, we're coming back to this more traditional kind of way, and we're not saying go back in time and you're just a housewife and you're stuck in the kitchen and all that kind of stuff, because that's not what we're talking about. But there is a dynamic that innately women want to be taken care of and protected. And if I the thousands of readings I've done, one of the top 3 things that women have always wanted was safety and security.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the
and that's not going to change. But then we have this whole other version of women who, I'm safe, I'm secure, I can take care of myself, but they've got 10 cats because no man wants to date a woman who doesn't need a man.
Yeah.
Like, if you're telling me that I'm financially independent, I don't need you, I don't need your emotional support, I don't need you to provide me, I can take care of myself, well, why are we dating you then? Why would I want to date you? You don't need me. So men have this innate need to be wanted. Men have this innate need to be appreciated. It's part of our DNA that we thrive off that. We thrive off the ability to be able to be the knight in shining armor kind of stuff. We like to, again, like, we're creators. We like to build shit. We like to do that. And if we have a space where our partners or our females are telling us that we don't need you, then we will never date you. And this is where you have all these women in their 30s and 40s who are single, because where are all the good men out there? They're everywhere. They are everywhere. Right? But you're telling everybody you don't need them.
Yeah, and then men are like, because, well, what do I do with it? Yeah.
Well, I can't be intimate with this, right? Because you're telling me, and this is the thing, is the sexual part of a relationship is very, 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 very important. And if you're not needing a man, then how can I connect with you physically, emotionally, and sexually? Because you can't connect sexually in that space, because the underlying energy is I don't need you, right? So it's it's all a bit all over the place, and so the people who are really getting it and leading the way forward are understanding this, and this is what you're doing with some of the women you're coaching as well too, is helping them step into the feminine side. It's not a weakness, because a lot of females see, and they've been told, that stepping into the feminine side or stepping into this place is weak. And the same with men stepping into their emotional side is you're a simp or you're a bagger guy, right? And it's still being pushed out. So there's still this society thing, and it's all here to create disconnect, right? It's all create chaos, right? Because if we had people in this space where, men are more intuitive, more and more, self-aware, more in that space connected to their emotional, and women are more in their feminine, then you're going to have a very good dynamic of connection and family bonds, and then that's a whole other agenda on top of that as to why that's happening, why people are trying to be disconnected. But the people who are really succeeding these days, who have rock solid relationships, have this blend, have this dynamic, they have this play, they have this they understand that the world is changing and has changed, and what was needed from men and women previously is not what it's like today. So I said it's obviously been, for me, very recently, the last 5 years, like you said, that men who are tapping into this, it is like it's a cheat code.
It really is.
Serious cheat code.
And from the woman's perspective, there's a few things that I want to speak into here. And one of the things that you said is around self-awareness and emotional intelligence, because with that comes the ability to be wildly authentic and to speak truth and to bring forward a sense of security for the woman. Because I know in my own relationship that if I've got my shit that I need to bring up, like, my partner can hold me in that space, and I know that he's got the self-awareness to realize, hey, I'm not making this about you. He's got the ability to go, I'm just going to hold you through this. Like, I've got you. He said to me the other day, he's like, bring all parts of you, be the wild self that you are. Like, don't tame any part of you. And as a woman that is multidimensional, that is multifaceted, I want to be able to have that safe space to bring that forward. And a man that goes, you know what, I'm going to just hold you in that space. I'm gonna support you through all of this. I'm gonna meet you right where you need to be met through all of this. And it's so powerful because when a woman can truly be herself, that's when she can show up and be nurturing. That's when she can show up and be so loving and so supportive and so honoring. Like, this is why it is a two-way street. This is why, like, there is no hierarchical system. There is no alpha. There is no leader for just one thing. Both men, women have to lead in the dynamic. It is a shared dynamic. And so when men can tap into this emotional intelligence and this awareness of self, they can bring forward their own stuff. Like, I trust that if I had anything come up that I had to deal with my partner, it would be like, okay, cool, let's bring it to the surface with absolute love and honesty through this. And everything's going to be okay through this. I'm not going to, expect any sort of disrespect. I'm not going to expect that it's all just going to blow up in my face and it's going to end up in a huge fight. I know that we can go, let's have a conversation around this. Where do we need to meet each other? What do you need from me in this situation? And how can we grow through this? And instead of, getting to these heightened emotions and then just complete disharmony, which then, follows with resentment, and circulating and building this this warped foundation, we can just go, do you know what, everything's perfect as it is. Let's just talk about our feelings. Like, I've got my stuff, he's got his stuff, we've got our own stuff, but we're not making it each other's problem. We're supporting each other through it to grow together with that.
And you mentioned, like, underneath all that is the communication. Like, it's learning to communicate in a whole different level, right? There's communication how most people work, and in this space there's communication that's a whole different realm. It's a whole different, complete dimension to be able to communicate on this level that is intuitive. Like, it's this what I'm trying to say is that men who shift into intuition, you're in the top 0.00001% of the world. Like, you are a leader. You are so sought after. You've got a superpower that most people don't have. And those guys who start to lead into their intuition, because you can have, self-awareness and all that kind of stuff, and understand the thinking side of things, the logical, like you can do a bit of psychology about, emotional intelligence, emotional awareness. But then to have the intuition underneath all that stuff that sort of puts it all together, which is, you can't, and this is, again, we're going on a tangent here for people. Guys, you can't learn intuition. And if people out there doing intuition courses, I get it, understand it, but you are intuition, right? This is the thing, it's the natural state, right? You can't learn something you already are. So it's tapping into that space where you have the ability to see beyond the conversation. You have the ability to see beyond what's being said. You have the ability to see the feelings and emotions and why they arise. It's be able to sit in the space where silence is the most important quality you can have. It's the ability to have a listening skill set, which there you could actually see and hear someone, not just be able to have a conversation. And then what you're trying to do is to come back, you're listening to come back at it rather than just, to get the other person's point of view and the view of the world, So it's a powerful, powerful tool that, men tapping into that space is the next frontier. And those guys are actually tapping into that space. There's a frontier that you've never imagined before. And it goes on both sides. Like, women tap into intuition as well too. That's we've shunned that as well too for females. We've actually, in this space of tapping into this more performance, and I'm, I can take care of myself and play this masculine game. What's the first thing that goes in that masculine game?
Their intuition. Yeah.
And we have this thing about, nurturing. We see there's some kind of weakness, like this thing about being nurturing and being caring and being loving as some kind of beta bullshit. Like, seriously? The messaging out there these days is so fucked up, it's not funny. And you wonder why the divorce rates are at 50, 60%. You wonder why second marriages are at 70%. You wonder why 80% of the marriages that are failing, women are leading it, right? Between 70 and 80% of the divorces these days are instigated by the female. And because men are fucking confused. Like, we're so confused about what it is and this dynamic. So, and the people and the couples who go down this space to tap into a conscious, intuitive, self-aware, passion, value-driven relationship, you guys are so far ahead of the game, and you will realize a happiness and a place of joy and freedom that very, very few people get to experience. And you probably understand, like, I'm very, passionate about this, right? Because this is where a lot of my work sits, in the space of helping people. I'll get a guy come to me and it's like, my business is failing, but I say, mate, what's your why are you doing your business? Why is this important to you? What motivates you? It's really for your family, right? There's no point having a business if you got no family. And then this is some of the stuff. So what men want, it's changing very, very quickly, because most men now, reason they're getting tapped into, the reason why we're doing this is for our family. The reason why we do most things is because we want to be a present father. Gone are the days where men want to work 80, 90 hours a week. That's gone. That is dead. Men now want to be able to work 40, 50 hours a week, still perform at a high level, still go to the gym, still go for a run. But what's most important for most of us now is our family. It's our kids. It's our partners. And we're talking about heterosexual relationships here. Don't have a go at me for some of this stuff, right? Even in same-sex marriages, you still got the dynamic there about what's really important, what drives us, what motivates us. And for so long, the male archetype has been about external, about getting things, achieving things, and burning us out. And men are really now shifting to a place of, I don't want this anymore. It hasn't worked. It's never worked. And what we really want is our family and our presence and our love and our connection and a purpose that drives us to become someone better, to become someone bigger, to sit back at the end of the night and go, fuck, I'm doing a great job. Look how connected my family is. Look how proud they are of, what I'm doing. Look how proud they are of, what we're creating here. And that's driving a lot of men these days. But women aren't seeing it. So the women need to start to shift with this as well, to understand, real men these days are driven purely by the fact of being of service.
Yeah, I love that.
And being of service is that space, is to be able to tap into that dynamic of a new archetype of a man. And we drive most of our happiness from a man's perspective to be of service.
So tell me what it's like. This is probably going to be very obvious, but let's have a look at what it feels like to be a man, to be of service, to do things for his family, and be just acknowledged, honored, respected, really just thanked, compared to oh yeah, that's your job, whatever. You know what I mean? The difference here, how does a man continue to perform based on where the woman is meeting him and acknowledging him?
It's a place of freedom. It's so purposeful. It's so value driven. You've got a reason you get up in the morning. You've got something to live for. This is the thing, is that it's such a place of pure elation and joy and openness, and it's versus the other way is exhaustion. It's a hassle, and then you try and perform more because you think that's the answer, because it's not working, so I need to perform more at this end to try and get more of what I think. When I get there, I'll be happier. When I get this, I'll be respected and loved when I get this. But then it's the other way is an internal journey. It's going inside. And that place is pure presence. That place is pure fulfillment. That place is pure freedom. That place is pure joy, love, compassion. It's everything you're searching for. And it's not a journey that way. It's a journey this way.
Yeah, inwards. Yeah.
And if they have a female to support you in that way and to understand that journey, that's why we do it. Because it's not fun doing it by yourself.
Exactly. And I think from the woman's perspective, the way I see it is we are innately tapped into our emotions and into our intuition. And we have the ability to hold that space and invite men into that because we already know it to be true. We're already the embodiment of it. And I think this is why it's so important for women to be tapped into their femininity. I have not met a single guy that does not like being held by a woman. Like if I sit, if I sit down on my butt, legs wide open, like I'm talking clothes still, and I just say like, come here, let me hold you, let me rub your head, let me give you a back rub, like let me just nurture you, let me kiss your forehead. I have never met a man that doesn't want to be nurtured and just held by his woman, because that then
Yeah.
drives him to go, oh my God, this feels so good. How can I provide
She
more of
sees me.
this? Yeah.
Yeah. And it inspires the man. It inspires him, right? And this is the flow. This is the seduction part,
Yeah.
right? We've lost the art of seduction in today's relationships. We're it's that space for a female to provide that for a guy to sit there and you're using your intuition at that stage, right? Because you're tapping into the man going, if I just give him a head massage, that's it. He might be asleep in about 3 minutes. Like literally, you give your husband a hard day's work, or you give your partner a head massage. You watch him about some blokes. I know me for one. I'm out cold. Like my
Yeah.
wife rubs my head. I'm snoring within about 2 minutes, right? And it's and if that's happening, understand. Don't think, oh, he's asleep. Understand, that's the first time he's been able to relax.
Yeah, he's got the space
That's how
to
powerful
relax.
you are. Yes, right. Rather than going, oh look, I'm rubbing. He just fell asleep. It's like, no, he surrendered. He surrendered
Mm.
into your space.
Yeah.
He's relaxed,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And that's the thing. I and me giving a bit of uh, uh, private information here. When I get my hair cut every 3 weeks, my hairdresser is also a facial and masseur kind of person. So I get a facial every 3 weeks with a head massage. And she quite often her thing, and she's great. I'm going to have her. I should have her on the podcast. She's fantastic. It's just a men's hairdresser, right? But her mission is for men in her hairdressing to relax, to let go, because she sees this every single day of men just constantly on the go. And she's, Greg, every time you come here and you fall asleep, I feel so good, because it means you've let go. And I know this hour, an hour and a half we spend together, it's me being of service to you, and you need it. And it's like, yeah, it's my place like that. So it's really we design, this is the dynamic between the two, is that men want that in a female. They really it's so attractive to have a female in that space to provide that feminine quality of nurturing. It's so attractive.
Yeah. And like I said, like women, we have this already within us. Tap into it, tap into like using our intuition, asking ourselves, what does he need from me in this moment? And if you don't know, if it is confusing, if you're not tapped in completely with your intuition, ask him, have the conversation. How can I show you that I appreciate you? How do you like to receive being honored and acknowledged for who you are and who you be in this family or in this relationship? Because if you don't know, simply ask the question. Like that is where it comes back to communication yet again.
Yeah.
But like I said, I've never met a man that hasn't wanted to just melt into his female partner. And also, when I started telling people that I was going to start studying Tantra, and when I, can offer the massage technique, the armour massage, the amount of men that are just like, oh my God, I need that because I just need to be touched. I need to be nurtured, especially a lot of my single friends that aren't in relationships, that are so desiring relationships with awakened women, because, and there isn't a shortage necessarily of men. There's a shortage of communication between men and women to find out who each other are, because men have been put down so much and labeled that they're a certain way for so long that they're almost too afraid to step forward and be like, I'm one of them, I'm here to provide this. Or women have got a certain thing in mind that they have to be over 6 foot and that they have to be super built, or they have to have this
criteria.
particular job. There's a criteria, exactly. And it's really, I was having this conversation with my partner the other night, because I used to have a man menu myself, be like, what is it that I wanted in a man? And then it was like, I went back through it ages ago and I was like, this is bullshit. It's how I want to feel inside. And it's really interesting because the photo that I have on my phone screen when I'm on a phone call with my partner, you can see more of me smiling. So he's kissing my neck in the photo and I'm smiling. And every time I see that photo, I remember how I feel in his presence, because it's not about, sure, he's an amazing looking guy. He's very attractive, but it's not about that for me. It's how I feel when I'm with him and how I want to continue to feel and how can I continue to amplify that in his presence. And so for me, it was putting down all of these expectations or this intention to manifest a certain type of man and go, what is it that I want to feel instead? And the way I feel in the relationship that I'm in is unlike anything I've ever experienced before.
You mentioned something very, very important there. And this is something that most men won't admit, but we crave it. Like, we crave touch. Like, we really do crave touch. It is so important for it. And again, like, men are starting to get to understand this, starting to get to know this, because it's always been, especially, the male-dominated coaching industry is like, it's about, well, I'm in charge and I fuck my wife and I'm the king, I'm the biggest and hardest and strongest and longest. It's all about performance. Again, performance. But for a man to open himself up to touch, like, there's a lot of men who go, holy shit, where's this been all my life? It's like, yeah, dude, like, welcome to the new revolution, because, it's the Stone Age is dead, right? The old ways of just taken and, do to people and thing. It's about, we're bringing ourselves, we're bringing something to the relationship. We're no longer having this take kind of perspective. We're actually showing up and we're bringing aspects of a very big dynamic, and this is the evolution we're going through. It's people who are jumping on this are realizing that it's a whole different game now, and men who embrace that space where they can lean into touch, especially in a tantric way as well too. Like, there's places you go to that you kind of go, shit, where the fuck has this all been, right?
Yeah, and it's that self-awareness,
men are still
isn't it?
open to talk about it.
Yeah, like when men really tap into the awareness of self and what it is that they like, and really tapping into beyond just getting their dick wet in sex, that how they can have that connection. We've spoken so much in the previous episodes about the power of foreplay around the clock and not just in the bedroom. It's always, foreplay is anything outside of penetration. And so when men start to realize, oh, this is the parts of my body that are my erogenous zones, like, where am I getting really turned on that are outside sort of the standard areas, and how can I communicate to this to my partner that I want to be touched? And I think this is why I've had, quite a few male friends say, let me know when you're offering the tantric massage, not because it's a sexual experience, it's a sensual experience. And men love sensuality. Like, and a woman to be with a sensual man, holy shit, is it a game changer?
It's a game changer. And this is the thing, is like, the messaging to men is like, the old messaging is, you're a simp, you're a beta guy. If you get into that, you're a poof. Sorry for like offending people, but that's sort of what it is. It's like this masculine kind of stuff, right? But guys, right? You've got to shift. You've got to change with the times, because what we want is why it's failing now, is because we're wanting a thing that doesn't exist, and it should never exist. We've got to change and shift with this, and then the females change and shift with you, and there's this coming together of a very conscious kind of male and female connection, which has dynamics of both the male and the female, and then you play in that space together. And you play different roles, and you open up that emotional side of things. And again, a guy who's in his emotional awareness is so powerful. It's not a weakness. It is so strong and so protective and so caring. And you, like I said, you just melt in the place. My God, my man's got me. Not just from a financial perspective, right? My man's got me emotionally, and that's what drives women, is to have that emotional safety.
Massively, because we are emotional beings. We can go through, we're like Melbourne weather. We can go through all seasons in a day.
Yes.
And to have a man that says, show up in your wildness, bring it all to me. I've got you. In fact, I love that about you. I honor that within you. For a woman to be told that she can be all of herself, because for so fucking long, women have been told who to be, how to be, suppressed, repressed, told how to show up, told what to wear, told how to dress, told how to look, told what size to be, told to be this, told to be that. And it's like, do you know what? We just want to be our fucking selves. And so when we have the space to be fully, wildly free, liberated, authentic in who we are, and have a man beside us that says, fucking go for it, babe. Like, do more of that. Like, it is so freeing. And then we're more nurturing, we're more intuitive, we're more liberated, we're more wild. That is when the sex then gets better and better, because it's a space of going, I'll meet you here, I'll meet you here, I'll meet you here, I'll meet you here. I honor you here, I honor you here, I honor you here, I honor you here. I love you here, I love you here, I love you here. You know what I mean? Like, it just goes deeper and deeper, and it's like, how good could this get even more? And then you take it to new heights, and you're like, holy shit, where did that come from? To the point where you're having sex and you're seeing God, and that's sort of the standard way that you're fucking, you know?
Yeah. And it goes from a very performance-based kind of mindset to an exploration.
Yeah.
There's no, I'm the best, and it's like that doesn't exist. That doesn't even exist, because most men have this issue that when they're with their partner, I've got to be the best she's ever had. It's like, fuck, here we go again. Like, seriously, right? You don't get it, because if you want to be the best, you forget about the best, and you do exactly what you just said there. Because in that space, there's no competition, right? You're not trying to be anything. You're trying to, because in that space, trying to be the best, you're not focusing on her or you. You're focusing on her ex-partners.
Exactly.
And trying to compare yourself to those.
There. Absolutely. And you should, a man that shows up in his confidence, that knows that nobody else in the world matters, and provides safety, that I'm in a long distance relationship. I have no doubt in, my partner's ability to say no to other women that might look his way. Do you know what I mean? Not for a second would I question that, because he holds such conviction in who he is, and in such honor of me, that doesn't even come into play. And vice versa as well, and so it's when a man can just hold that space for a woman and just be confident within himself that he's showing up as all that she needs. That is what she needs. It doesn't matter about anyone else. She's not with another partner because they've separated. They no longer exist, And again, we're talking about, heterosexual monogamous relationships outside of affairs and all of that kind of stuff, right? We're talking very sort of simplified dynamic of relationships here, right? But what we're seeing is that the orgasms are better. The orgasms are, the peak of that union coming together, going, I am here, I am free, I am liberated, I'm feeling honored, and I honor you in this as well. And it's that two-way street, it's that connection, and then nothing else in the world matters. You feel invincible when you're on the same page as your partner, when you connect on that deep level to be like, do you know what? I'm going to meet you here sexually, sensually, in this relationship. We can do life outside of this easily.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're not having to work on the relationship. You're not having to do things in the relationship. Like it's so much, once you let go of all that stuff, it just becomes this, you think you don't even try to do, it's just because who you are, right? It's natural. What you're talking about, Jen, there is, it's actually who you are as a being, right? You're bringing that to the table. And if you're bringing that to the table, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to become anybody. It's just an extension of who you are, an exploration of whatever. And sometimes you're going to have sexual experiences, which are going to be so fucking horrible and shit. You're going to laugh about it, because it's an exploration of doing things, not just a rating scale about, oh, okay. And then you can give feedback, right? And so you can say, that was so fucking horrible, it wasn't funny. That just didn't work for me. And you're not having this thing about, well, what did I do wrong? She doesn't like me. Maybe she thinks that this other guy who used to be with is much better than me. It's like, no, that's the whole point of it, is that you can actually have the exploration and go, you're not doing that one again. That just didn't work for me, right? Because you have, it's just this, you have this kind of connection that just transcends everything, right? So for men, it's there's a whole new frontier coming for men and women in this space, and it's in this very, you're helping men tap into intuition for the first time. You're having women reconnect with their intuition again, and then that builds this kind of new version of what men want, what women want, because in that space we can actually say, yeah, we do want a man who provides for us, because there's power in that. And we want to go, yes, we do want a female who's nurturing and kind and gentle and motherly, right? And we can actually stand in that kind of stuff and go, that's great. And the dynamic works. But what's out there now is this confusion. And men are walking away from relationships going, it's all too fucking hard. Like, I don't want that. I don't want that high performance woman. I don't want that CEO woman who's working 80 hours a week. Right? Men are actually shifting to a whole different realm. We want to have the family. We want to have the white picket fence. We want to have the the nuclear family. We want to be able to go away on holidays and have memories and journeys and have experiences with our females. Men, those who I coach are sort of leading the way now in this space of a whole new dynamic about what we really want. And for those guys who are stepping into that place, you can't you can't compare one from the other, because you're just not, you're out of this competition style, you're out of this trying to force things, you're out of this external validation side of things. It's a very much an internal presence, and you don't have to sort of, people kind of walk around and this is what I'll say to most of my clients who I coach. It won't be when you notice it that you actually notice there's a change. It's when somebody else tells you what the hell's going on with you. And you will actually see that. It's like, I've got a client right now, Di, and people around her are going, you've changed. And I said, remember, when a penny will drop with you is that people from the outside go, what are you doing? Something's gone with you. You've actually, everything's shifted with you. You're so much more calmer present. You're so much more within yourself. You carry a different presence. So it's about men carrying a different presence. It's about females carrying a different presence. It's, we want something so different these days. And the old stuff has to shatter. It has to, like, it's the Tower card in tarot.
Yes.
It's coming. Either you jump on board with it or you stay in the old paradigm. But, those who do jump forward with it, you can't stop it from happening.
No, exactly. And well, look, we haven't touched on anything controversial. I want to bring controversial to the table. ready for it. What I have seen personally, professionally, just out in the world in general, is this is where women are now leaning towards polyamory because they're not being met. Their needs are not being met in their relationship with their husband. So they're out seeking something else because there is a desire for something else so deep within them, because the men are not stepping up, because they, one, don't know how to, or they've been emasculated and they've been pushed down. They don't know how to be, because I'm seeing a lot of high-powered women stepping into this, and I'm watching it with absolute curiosity, going, where is this coming from? Why is this happening? Because like polyamory and monogamy, I think we need to have another conversation about this in another episode, and even get perhaps an expert on board about this, because we can have our own perspective on this, and we're both in individual monogamous relationships ourselves. I've gone down the the curiosity of open relating before, and I know that it was because I was unfulfilled. I wasn't self-aware. I was very unfulfilled. My expectations were on my partner to fill a void and the external validation. And then when I reined it all in, I was like, oh, hang on a second. And now, like, watching people who I've been very close with go down the polyamory path has made me more monogamous. And just through having that experience. Sorry.
So the polyamory part is also, it's a one type of guy they're going after. It's the bad boy. And the thing is that, yes, and I, the client told me this, right? This is very, very funny. The reason why they go after the bad boys is, like, they're great to fuck, they're a great ego boost, but you don't marry them because they just have the choice of, and they have no, you can't trust them. because there's so many women out there having a go at them. And why would they want to be able to be settled down with one woman? Because they've got oodles of women trying to take down the bad boy. Because if I can sort of, grab that guy, which every other girl wants, and I can get him to want me, and then try and change him, right? That's the challenge. Like, it ain't going to happen, love. It ain't going to happen, kind of thing. And then you've got the women who get married, and again, maybe something we can talk about another time. You got these women who are in these extramarital affairs with a man who's married, and you're the bit on the side thinking he's going to leave his wife and kids for you, right? And so, you've got a huge surge in women having affairs in their relationships, a massive surge. And, what I hear is either they're with another married man or they're trying to grab the bad boy. And because it's like this, it's an ego boost. It's like every other girl wants that guy. I've got him.
Mm-hmm.
And now I can try and manipulate or try and get him to choose me. But in reality, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, because there's this process that women go through, and I've been through this myself. I'm like, hey, look, I'm Bob the Builder. I'm here to fix this, and I get a buzz. I used to get a buzz out of being able to fix somebody or make him see the light. And it's like, hey, look at me. I can draw you in. I can fix you. You'll fall for me, and then you'll be mine, and then your family will love me, and we'll run off into the sunset together, kind of thing, which is so fucking ridiculous, right? But if we also look at the conditioning that we had growing up with, movies that we watched and, Disney shit and, the music that we listened to and all the ways in which we were programmed, it doesn't surprise me that we're all a little fucked up through this, but just circling back like to the poly thing, I feel as though especially women that are instigating it because they're desiring more in their men and their men just don't know how to step into that emotional intelligence, that intuitive side, that like, hey, I'm going to meet you there. Step down off the alpha pedestal that you've put yourself into and just fall into the arms of your woman and be nurtured and just come home to yourself in her arms. That is, that is the role of the woman to provide that for the man,
I call it the wizard. Because I call it the magician or the wizard. You're going from the alpha male, the primal man, the king, that kind of style of man into the magician.
Mm-hmm.
And the magician has alchemy.
Oh, yeah.
And that is that space. And again, if you're a man listening to this shit, right? Jen and I work for very, very few people. Reason for this is because of that. People who step into this place, especially from a male perspective, step into this magician wizard archetype. Holy shit. Does it change the game?
Yeah. And it's as a woman, like seeing a man progress through like his bad boy phase and then coming home to himself. Coming home to himself. Men that work with plant medicine have this experience because, like, especially ayahuasca, she will just like backhand someone into waking up and going, get up and sort your shit out. And then they have this massive homecoming, like, oh my God, I was here for myself all along. There's nothing more of a turn on than a man that works with plant medicine and is like connected with himself to do the work on himself. As a woman myself, as a a very feminine woman, nurturer, someone that also works with plant medicine, someone who's highly intuitive, I'm looking for a man that gets it in that space. And so blessed and so honored to have a man in my life that is in that space and gets it, because it's like, oh my God, take me. What do you need?
Yeah.
My clothes fall off the airport.
We talked about it's this place where even in a place that there's still a bad boy in there, right? Because there's a darkness that you start to master as well too, right? Because you can't be all this just light guy, right? You can't be love and light, right? And a guy who can balance both sides of light and dark and still be partially bad boy but in a good way.
That is a game changer. Like, it's so funny. Cass said to me last night, he's like, you've had a thing for bad boys, haven't you? I'm like, oh, don't you know it? You know what I mean? There's just something about them. Like, you love the bad boys, absolutely. But it's like the awakened bad boys is next fucking level.
and the thing is, it's it's this it's a different type of bad boy, because we're talking about bad boys who manipulate and to players, all that kind of stuff. But there's this spiritual bad boy, which is, it's hard to explain kind of stuff, but they're highly confident. They're highly intuitive. Like it's this you can't have me kind of thing. Is that you still have to chase them, right? We're still making you chase us.
Yeah.
Right. And you can't have there's a play again. It's a deduction part, right?
Seduction,
And we're and a guy who sort of brings out that the shadow side in that space, and go at people who, and I know, Jen, you do shadow work in that space. Like, honor that shadow, honor that bad boy in a place, because there's aspects of that bad boy that are very, very, very powerful as well too, used in the right way.
Transferable skills.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You want to be calculated. You want to be just like, you want to tap into these darker parts of you. Do it, please. Do it in such like an honoring and awakened way. Like, do it in the bedroom. Like, really bring forth, like, don't deny those parts of yourself, because remembering as well, we have to remember that we're whole and complete as we are, that all of our experiences that led us to this very moment in time, and that, always all parts of us are welcome. So if there has been, this bad boy previously, bring him into it now. Don't deny that side. And it's the same with women. Like, you've been the sacred slut, bring her forward. You've been the raging wild woman, bring her forward. This whole stupid fucking love and light only, like this surface level, like fifth dimension, 12th dimension. I cannot, right? We need to incorporate all of that into the humanness. We are humans having this like full-bodied experience. Bring it all forward. And that when we have that with each other, like I've said before, that we experience liberation when we can be all of ourselves, when we can bring every aspect of ourselves forward in a safe dynamic where our partner honors us. And that's not just speaking from a woman's perspective. That's both safety, security, certainty, honor, acknowledgement, desire, passion. It goes both ways. These are not just tailored to just masculine or just feminine.
And then I think that's why you've summed it up very good way to finish, is that that's the dynamic we're looking for now, is that it's a multi-dimensional kind of relationship with the person. It's not just this box that you can sort of, you're this and you're that. So, and that's where you need skilled people to help you understand that kind of stuff, right? Because this tapping into this place is profound, and you need some, to have access to people who are, sort of masters at this, wizardry, magician, priestess kind of stuff. No, I don't want to call it witch, but priestess kind of thing. It is so, so powerful. So, yeah.
So, like, so connect with us, like reach out to us on Instagram, and even you know what, I was actually in Kmart the other day, and in the book section they have there's called it's a shadow work journal. It's like $24. You can get it on Amazon and stuff as well. There's so many books available, like journals available, that were like $10 that start you on the journey of doing the work of going inwards. Like, this shit's becoming mainstream. People are realizing, like, if you could buy it from like mass production through fucking Kmart, this is because people are onto something. The fact that people want to have these conversations, people want to do this work. If this is becoming accessible at a place like Kmart, it's because this is the forward motion that we're moving to. So go and get yourself a job. If you don't want to invest, or you're not able to invest with us, with a coach, or with, doing a course or a program, or you're working one-on-one with someone, start somewhere. Like, go inwards. There are resources available. I have resources available to discover your values. That's free on my website. Greg's got resources. Like, reach out to us, have a conversation with us. We don't buy it. we're here. This is what we do. Sometimes. We're here to support us. Just lightly covered in chocolate.
Yeah. But that's the thing, is like, a good point is that the hardest part you'll ever do is the first step. That's the hardest part. Once you actually make that first initial kind of, and you realize that, and it sometimes it's a fear, because you kind of say, well, your old life tends to, it's this evolution of constant rebirth and death through your life, because it will be a death. Like you're going to go through a death phase, but the rebirth, it's not easy. Like a whole identity shift and a whole way of living life is a massive, massive death card. But you can either jump on with it and join us in, a space that's very, very profound and free and loving and caring and mystical, or you can still keep doing the same stuff and then trying to continue to kind of find the solution through external means to try and validate something that you can't. So so
I always say the
shift.
first step to growth is awareness, and so you want to start to bring in awareness of who you are, how you tick, and it could be sitting down with a cup of coffee every day, just taking 5 to 10 minutes, just asking, who am I? What is it that I love and enjoy? What is it that I really just want to move through at the moment? Or what is it that I'm feeling? Like, get in touch with your feelings. Start with just the basics, and then it might be going into a journal and having prompts to be, asking you questions that you don't know how to access within yourself. You have to become self-aware as you're going through this process. And it's an evolution. Like, you don't just open the journal. It's like, bang, I feel like I'm dying. You go through this process yourself, and you realize that, perhaps parts of your life have been a lie, and that's okay, because now you get to bring the truth forward. And I'm telling you now, the connections that you have with people, the conversations that you have, like, everything is different and everything is deep. And you realize you can't do small talk. You realize you can't do surface level friendships. You can't just do life how you used to, because it's boring as fuck. You crave depth and intimacy and connection like never before. And because you're at that frequency of doing the work, you will connect with other people in that space. And it is fucking phenomenal. Life is phenomenal when you have that in your life. I promise you that.
So what are we going to leave our viewers with today, Jen? What hard question are we going to leave them with?
I think for the women listening, because we wanted to make this episode about what is it that the men want and need. So I think, for women to reflect on, how can you show up for your man? If you're not in a relationship, how can you show up platonically for the men in your life? How can you show up for a brother, a father, a friend, a colleague, a male in your life? How can you just show up and be your intuitive, beautiful, nurturing, seductive self? And it doesn't have to be seductive in a sexual way. You can be just seductive in your femininity to show that nurturing and intuitive side. So how can you show up in that? And I think for the men, getting really clear on what is it that you do need from your woman. How do you like to feel nurtured? How do you feel, how do you feel loved and seen and valued? What does that feel like in your body? And then for anyone listening to this, that's in a partnership, have the fucking conversation. Compare the notes. It's going to be right there in front of you. Yeah.
For me, it's for men. Are you ready? Like, have a very, very big conversation. Like, this is a game changer. Like, we talk about things being game changing. This is literally a game changer. Have a very, very honest conversation with yourself. Like, are you ready? Because it changes everything. Those who jump on board and those who get left behind, that's basically it. It's a line in the sand. If your life's not working for you right now, here's an opportunity to change everything. And it takes guts, it takes courage. It's to do something so different to what everybody else is doing. But to tap into that place, like, are you that courageous? Is my question to these guys.
Yes.
Like a challenge. Are you really that courageous, or do you want to keep doing the bullshit stuff that most people teach?
Women love courageous men who have conviction, men who just know themselves and are passionate in doing this work. Trust me.
Yeah. All right. That's it for this episode, Jen. Again, feedback, Instagram, send us emails, send us notes, because we'd love to hear your comments. We'd love to understand what you would like to be more of. If you want to abuse us, go for it, because we love that stuff as well too.
Yes,
If you want to tell us
come
we're
at
wrong, go
us.
for it.
Yes, let's get some polarizing stuff
Come at
happen.
us. But we love the comments coming back. We love that people are giving us feedback on this. The conversation topics we're having. People going, thank God you're having this. I've been listening to this. I've been forwarded on to my friends. It's been great. So, Jen, any other final comments on your end?
That's all. Just get out there, live your fucking life, have some fun. We're here for such a short time. We're here for a blink of a freaking eye. Make it as wild as you possibly can.
Yeah. And we're here to help you on that ride. So we will see you in the next version or next podcast of Intuition and Orgasms. And I hope you've enjoyed this one.
Thanks, Greg. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. We hope you loved it. And the biggest compliment that you can give us is leaving a rating and review. If you would like to get in touch with us, please feel free to reach out via our Instagram page, Intuition and Orgasms Podcast. We will see you in the next episode.